matters arising. We're also getting information that the Buipa Authority has raised concerns about the ECG's indebtedness to the Buipa Authority, which they say if measures are not put in place to address that indebtedness, it will threaten the operations of the Buipa Authority going forward. Give you details of these, plus the happenings at Parliament's Appointments Committee, where we are monitoring the vetting of some Supreme Court justice nominees by the President. We'll give you details of these and more. The latest in business, sports, and entertainment coming up over the next 60 minutes. I am Alfred Ocansey. Let's get into the details now from education. And as of 2021, 596,949 kindergarten pupils, 1.3 million primary pupils, and over 425,000 junior high school pupils did not have desks to sit on during class hours. Now, that's according to data from the Ministry of Education. Now, Africa Education Watch estimates that at a conservative rate, it will cost Ghana some 330 million Ghana cedis to address the desk deficit in public basic schools. That's what's happening, 330 million cedis. Now, if the current rate of investment of 80 million cedis in furniture provision at the basic school level continues, it would also take Ghana about 18 years to address the desk deficit in the country. Here's Divine Senior, who is Programs Officer of Africa Education Watch, during the presentation of their findings and the situation earlier today.
In our study in 2021, we look at the deprivation and its impact on enrollment and participation in school fully. We realized that some parents mentioned that because of the nature of classrooms, they were discouraged to enroll their wards. And then also specifically when it comes to the girls, when girls not have sitting place and they have to adopt inappropriate sitting posture, they expose themselves, which also makes them prone to sexual harassment from their own colleagues or maybe even at times teachers. That's one of the risks. And then also for the very fact that the posture are not encouraging or healthy for them. Some of them skip school because of the condition of the classroom. And once they begin to skip class, it means in the terms of academic performance, they are going to perform low. And a student that is performing low academically is at risk of dropping out. The student feels that,
well, so that's the details that was put out by Africa Education Watch. And the bearer of the details earlier today during the presentation by Africa Education Watch, Divine Senior, is a Programs Officer of Africa Education Watch, is joining us. Divine, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Hot Edition.
Thank you, Alfred.
Now, so, I mean, the picture looks quite worrying, I mean, to say the least. If you're talking about, as of 2021, 596,949 kindergarten pupils, 1.3 million primary pupils, and over 425,400 junior high school pupils, I mean children, did not have desks to sit on during class hours. I mean, let us a bit more details into the message in these statistics, these figures that you put out earlier today.
All right, thank you. That's the relative when it comes to the desk situation in our country. If you look at the 2021-2022 academic year, the figures you rightly put out is accurate. And if we take a basic education in entirety, the percentage of pupils having desks as of 2021-2022 academic year, the national rate is 40%. And that is actually a decline from 2017 figure. 2017 figure, the percentage of pupils, primary pupils, and then KG as well as GSS not having sitting places and writing places, the percentage was 30%. And by 2021-2022 academic has increased to 40%, which tells you that we've not done well over the years to improve the situation when it comes to students having access to writing places and density places. When you do regional disaggregation of the data, the situation looks dire, more especially in the northern part of the country, where you can see a region as much as 80% of the people pupils not having desks. For instance, Northeast, 80% of the pupils were not having desks. Northern region, 70%. Upper East, 60%. Bono East, 60%. Savannah, 60%. Upper West, 50%. Uti, 50%. So all these 7 regions, they have their percentage above the national rate of 40%. So these 7 regions are having the percentage of pupils not having desks above the national rate of 40%.
I see. So if I get the understanding, what we're even crying about today is an improvement of the situation as of 2017.
No, it's actually the worsening of the situation, because as of 2017, the percentage of pupils not having desks was 30%.
And now, what's the percentage?
It's 40%.
So that means that we have a lot more increase in enrollment.
Exactly.
And we don't have enough desks for people, the children.
That's the situation. What we have identified some of the key drivers. Instances where we have classrooms awarded to contractors without the inclusion of desk provision as part of the classroom building. So you can cite a recent instance of Balia DA Primary in the northern region, where classrooms are sited without desks before they were operationalized. In several instances, the district assembly may want to provide desks before they are operationalized, but because the fund to supply the desks delay, parents put pressure on them to operationalize the school, and they don't have any choice than to operationalize it without a text, and resulting in the deathless situation in some parts of the country. And then also the Pre-Tertiary Education Act in recent time has devolved the provision of infrastructure to district assembly. But unfortunately, the district assembly, they do not have the financial muscle to address this issue. So that has been the gap, although the tertiary education has laid the responsibility of infrastructure provision on the district assembly. You look at their revenue generation capacity, it's not strong enough for them to meet this challenge. And more especially also that for the very fact that some of them will have to fall on GET fund to seek financial redress to address the issue. And it ends up that GET fund, as we all know, is also capped. Beyond capping of GET fund, 70% of its resources in recent times also being channeled to non-infrastructure projects. We know very well that GET fund is meant for infrastructure. It's mainly for improving infrastructure in our schools. But unfortunately, if you look at the 2023 budget for GET fund, the one approved by Parliament, the disbursement formula actually allocated 70% of the fund to non-infrastructure projects and just 30% to infrastructure projects. For instance, some of the non-infrastructure projects include purchasing of laptops for teachers, the SHS digitization project, which is to provide desktop or other tablets for senior high school students. Some of these issues ideally were supposed to be budgeted from government of Ghana budget line and not GET fund, which mainly is supposed to use for capital expenditure.
I see, and so the most appropriate solution to all of this is what? A more allocation of funds to ensure that this is done. Because I see in the report that you're saying, for instance, that if the current average investment of 18 million cedis in furniture provision at the basic level continues, it will take Ghana about 18 years to address this desk deficits that you're talking about. 18 years.
Yes. If we continue to do this average of 18 million a year, it will take us 18 years to address the backlog.
But
and we must be mindful of the fact that aside the backlog, there's a population increment in terms of student enrollment of 2% every year. And if you want to cater for that 2% every year, you need to allocate 19 million Ghana cedis every year to meet the increasing population. So aside the deadlock clearing of 18 million that is needed, you need an additional 19 million each year to provide 54,800 desks each year to meet the increasing population. So currently the deadlock is to take 330 a conservative rate of 330 million to clear the deadlock. And if we continue on this 18 months, it will take us too long a time. That is why we need a radical solution, which means we need to improve investment in the resource allocation to DEX provisional school. But sadly, if you look at the allocation to the DEX tuition in last year, it was 15 million, which was a significant decline from the previous year. Previous year we did 30 million, and then last year, or this academic year, we are doing 50 million. A sharp decline, which is not encouraging.
But so that's where the concern is, and that's why I bring in Dr. Clement Apak. He's the Deputy Ranking on the Education Committee of Parliament, a Member of Parliament for the Bosa South constituency. Dr. Clement Apak, thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition. So this picture that the Africa Education Watch research paints about the lack of desks for kindergarten pupils, primary pupils, junior high school pupils. In fact, we're talking about 596,949 kindergarten pupils not having desks, 1.3 million, over 1.3 million primary pupils not having desks. At the junior high school level, we talk about 425,465 children don't have desks to sit on. The problem is that the budgetary allocation to the education sector keeps declining. And so this is a money problem. We need more money to buy more desks, but then the funding is not there. So what's going to happen?
Well, let me say thank you for giving me the opportunity to comment on a very disturbing matter. Indeed, I think any Ghanaian and any parent who has paid attention to what is going on in our educational sector will not be surprised. In fact, as far as I am concerned, it is not for the lack of resources as a nation, but it is as a result of the decision by the Akufo-Addo-led NPP government to apply our resources on issues and projects that would not directly benefit Ghanaians. As I speak to you today, we are still taking reports from various committees with regards to the 2024 budget. As part of this process, the Minister for Education attended upon the Education Committee, and indeed, we had a number of questions for him. Alfred, believe me or not, with the levels of expenditure deficit that we know, which has been rightly captured by a reputable education sector, civil society organization like African Watch, for the whole of this year, 2023, the Akufo-Addo-led NPP government could only procure and distribute a paltry 58,000 pieces of furniture. You heard me right. 58,000 pieces of furniture.
So, Dr. Clement Apak, for us to appreciate why you describe this 58,000 pieces of furniture as paltry, what should have been the ideal figure? Because for somebody listening, 58,000 might be huge.
Well, 58,000 is nothing to write home about. Because if you take the number of children in kindergarten alone, they are almost 1 million. If you take basic, in which case we are looking at primary 1 to junior high school, you add all of them together, that segment alone, they are in excess of 3 million. So if you were to add KG all the way to junior high school, we are looking at a figure very close to 5 million. And so the issue is not about the lack of resources as a nation, as I've always argued. The issue is simply the lack of interest in investing our resources in projects and activities that clearly should benefit the ordinary Ghanaian. That is what it is. It's as simple as that. Why would we spend colossal amounts of taxpayers' money, for example, constructing a cathedral at the expense of our wards, who cannot even get pieces of furniture to sit on so that they can learn to become worthy and good citizens of the Republic? Why do we continue to keep multiple ministers doing the same job, paying them fat salaries, and they are going to take emoluments as Article 71 title holders at the end of the tenure of the current government? Why are we keeping in excess of 1,000 presidential staffers? Why are we appointing multiple CEOs for public and state agencies? So clearly, it is simply a lack of prioritizing what is important. And I would say education is one of the three most important sectors as far as our economy is concerned. And we need to call out government for paying lip service to education and doing very little to ensure that teaching and learning is indeed effective in the Republic of Ghana.
In fact, the Africa Education Watch, after this detail they put out about the lack of decks, they do an estimate in terms of the cost of solving this problem. Because as I indicated, this is a money problem, really. And they say that at a conservative rate, it will cost Ghana some 330 million cedis to address the desk deficit, as in to provide all of these pupils who don't have desks. When we add from kindergarten, primary to GHS, we're talking about almost 2.2 million children who don't have desks to sit on across the country based on their research. It will take some 330 million cedis. You say that if there was commitment, this shouldn't be too much to address.
Rightly so, Alfred. I mean, just look at the quantum of money that this, for lack of a better word, useless Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government has sunk into the National Cathedral project without even the approval of Parliament. A project that many well-meaning Ghanaian citizens, even including some in Christendom, have spoken against. Think about what that money could have done. That money alone, if you were to factor in all the expenditure that we know, courtesy of Honorable Sam Okujeto Ablakwa, that money could have solved this problem. I mean, think about the fact that our president not long ago was hopping from one European country to another and hopping from one American metropolis to another in a private jet, paying in excess of $20,000 an hour. So yes, when I say that it is as a result of a lack of priority, I believe that I am on solid ground, and any Ghanaian listening to me would agree. We could have raised this money, and I still believe we can raise this money to address this challenge, which clearly is going to have a negative effect on the future of this nation. What has happened to the educational sector under this government, the damage that has been caused, I am sorry to say, would take some serious work to fix, and that is most unfortunate.
See, and this in a minute, and just to remind our viewers, especially on Facebook and X, that we are posting videos and pictures of some people who are listening to us right now in Tamale, that's on Kesme, and in Wa as well on W93.5, sharing with us pictures of some of the children in these primary and kindergarten schools in those areas who are using cement blocks as the desks. So they sit on the cement blocks, and then also they have another cement block in front of them that they use. In fact, they bend to write on. And that poses all sorts of health risks for them as well, because bending for so long or sitting on the floor to write also poses a risk to their health. If you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927 right now, thank you for the listeners on Kesme and on W93.5 in Wa and Tamale respectively. Thank you for the pictures and videos you're sending. If you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, we are posting the pictures right now and the videos right now. You get to see what's happening there. So, Dr. Kalampa, before I let you go, you are a member of the Education Committee of Parliament. In fact, the deputy ranking. So, with the details that Africa Education Watch has now brought out, how is the committee going to treat this? Maybe when you resume.
Well, Alfred, let me be honest with you. This is not the first time that I am going to say this, and I'll say it again. I am disappointed in a committee that I am a part of and in leadership. I say so because as a unit, I don't believe we've done well in holding the minister's feet to the fire. On several occasions, the minister has failed to attend upon the committee on invitation to come before us so that we can present pressing issues that have come to our attention by Ghanaians in the area of education. But even so, as a responsible alternative, and I speak about the NDC in Parliament, we have never failed in seizing every opportunity to draw attention to these issues with the hope that if we were to shame government for failing to meet its obligations to the people, government would act. But we seem to have a government, a president, and a vice president who are impervious to the real needs of Ghanaians. Their interest has largely been in areas that they would benefit, either directly or politically. And the only assurance I can give Ghanaians with regard to addressing this matter, given where we are today, is that they ought to vote for the NDC and John Dramani Mahama so that we will come and deal with these matters. Now, this government has clearly shown that it is not interested in the real issues that we are discussing. And the issue of furniture shortage is even present in my own constituency, in spite of all the effort I've been making. And simply put, the MP would not be able to mobilize enough resources to procure and supply enough desks. That is the responsibility of the central government. And government is failing to meet its obligations to the people.
Okay, Dr. Clement Park, thank you. But we're just getting information, a statement just coming through from the National Teaching Council that 9,556 teachers who sat for the 2023 edition of the Ghana Teacher Licensure exams actually failed. This represents 47.4% of the number of teachers who sat for the exams. Out of that, the number of teachers who passed these exams was also 10,625. That's about 52.6%. The failure or the fail rate is still high, 47.4% for this teacher licensure exams. You say, or I've heard John Mahama say, your candidate, that when you come, you're going to abolish this licensure exams. What's the alternative? Quickly.
Well, first of all, I must say this announcement, yet again, is worrisome, but it reinforces our position. We have long argued that you cannot use an aptitude test in the areas of numeracy, literacy, and pedagogy to ascertain the professionalism of a teacher. If there are any deficiencies as far as our teachers are concerned, then the argument we have made and would continue to make, which also justifies our alternative of making the licensure exam a course to be taught and studied in a practical way in the colleges of education, is that professionalism has to do with training. Competence comes with training. So if there are any deficiencies in the teachers that we are producing, we ought to go back to the entire processes of training them, which will be the colleges of education and our universities, which also offer teacher training programs. So I would say that what we are witnessing actually justifies the proposal that John Mahama and the NDC have made, that we ought to look at the entire process of training the teachers, and in so doing, ensure that it is robust, ensure that it is well financed, ensure that all the amenities and facilities required are available, and to ensure that they are trained to be professionals from the onset, not after the fact.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. That's the Member of Parliament for the Bosa South constituency, also the Deputy Ranking on the Education Committee of Parliament, Dr. Clement Tapak there. But let's stay a bit further on this, and I appreciate those of you who are sending us the pictures that we're pasting on our Facebook page. If you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, you'll see some of the pictures of these children who are sitting on cement blocks, and that's as desks to write. Right now, if you go on at 3FM927, you'll see some of the pictures that our listeners on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and W93.5 in Wa have sent us. Thank you so much. The situation doesn't look good with all of these children using in fact, some of them are actually sitting on the bare floor with their exercise books as well on the floor writing. And my colleague Christopher Mwakwesa, Northern and Savannah regional correspondent, has been following this quite closely. Chris, now you are in the Northern region. We have some of our listeners on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale sending us pictures of the situation there. How bad is it?
Yes, Alfred, I can confirm to you that the situation is really, really very bad. Around June, July this year, the Northern Regional Educational Directorate held a stakeholder engagement, and it was one of the topical issues that was discussed, furniture deficit. You go to the Northeast region, you go to the Savannah region, each of the regions held stakeholder engagements, and the issue of furniture deficit became a topical issue. Alfred, if you go to the West Mamprusi municipality, that is in the Northeast region, you go to the East Mamprusi municipality, also in the Northeast region, and you go to the Bunkpurgu district in the Northeast region, I must say that it is very dark in these areas. You go to schools and you see children sitting on stones and slabs just to take their lessons. Others are even lying on their bellies to take their lessons. And that, according to teachers within that period, it was contributing to the low performance of students, not just at the primary level, but it takes from the kindergarten, the lower and upper primaries, then you go to the junior high schools. Some senior high schools are also facing this challenge. So, Alfred, to sum it up, over here in the three regions that I have been operating from, the situation, it's not an easy one.
Chris, appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us with this comprehensive detail. Christopher Marco is our Northern Savannah and Northeast regional correspondent, giving us details of the situation there. And it confirms the pictures that we're getting from our listeners on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and our viewers on Facebook at 3FM927. Thank you. Now, I indicated earlier the statement that we just received here on 3FM Hot Edition that 9,556 teachers who sat for the 2023 edition of the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examinations failed. Now, that represents 47.4% of the total number of candidates. That's the trainee teachers who sat for this. Now, this was contained in a release signed by the Public Relations Officer for the National Teaching Council, Dennis Osei, who is joining us on the telephone. Mr. Osei, also, thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition. So, if I get the understanding, you have over 10,000 teachers, that's teacher trainees who sat and passed these exams. That's against the 47.4%. That's 9,556 who failed.
Please, can you come again?
So I was saying that you have 9,556 of the candidates who sat for this and the exams failing, and then 10,625 pass this exam. Let's confirm that figure. Is that really the case?
Yes, please. That is exactly the figure.
I see.
But it's not as in students or candidates failing all the subjects. You know, we have 3 different areas that they were examined. So based on the areas, some were able to make, let's say, 2 out of the 3 papers, 1 out of the 3, and then some also had none. So that is what adds up to the exact figure you mentioned.
I see. Now, so what next for this 9,556 who have failed?
There's still room for a recess. And so, just like our practice, whenever you try or you sit and you're unable to make it, that doesn't mean that is the end of the road. And so you still have an opportunity to reset and then redeem yourself. You know, we've gone through reforms. When we started this exam, we were only limited to 3 areas. But then as we went on, there were proposals to go subject-based. And so this particular exam was the maiden one, where we went subject-based and then examined them also on their pedagogy. And so the initial numeracy, literacy, essential professional skills was now a paper. But as we speak, they had opportunity to be examined in their methodology, that is methods of teaching, that's pedagogy. And then they were also given opportunity as well to be examined in their area of specialization. So that is exactly what happened as far as the reform is concerned.
Okay.
Hence the outcome we have seen.
So you have taken on board some suggestions of reformation of this licensing exam. So you did something new this time around.
Yes, so this particular...
I see.
That's exactly what I said. This is the reformed one you saw. The initial one was only 3 subjects, and that one was a generic area where we're looking at numeracy, literacy, and essential professional skills.
Right.
But this time, through the reform, it has given us the opportunity to examine the candidates
subject by subject.
The area of specialization.
Okay.
So this is the maiden exam for the reform.
And does this include those who failed in the previous exams?
No, they wrote a different exam.
Okay.
They wrote a different exam because they were limited to the old system.
Right. So then what happens to those who failed with the old system?
Please come again.
What happens to those who failed in the old licensing exam system?
All right. So those who failed in the old licensing exam, there's an opportunity for them to upgrade to get a degree if they don't have, so that they can now write the reformed one. So that is the opportunity for them, and that information has gone down. Most of them are upgrading to get a degree because now the minimum entry requirement is a degree, and so they are all upgrading to get a degree. So if you're not able to make it on the old system, then you have to upgrade, get a degree, and then they write a reformed one.
Okay.
So that is the information for them.
Dennis, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
Dennis Osei-Wusu is head of public affairs of the National Teaching Council. The information just coming through is that 9,556 teachers who sat for the 2023 edition of the Ghana Teacher Licensure exams have failed. That represents 47.4% of the total number of candidates who sat for this, as against the 10,625, that's 52.6% who passed. Now, what we are learning is that this is a reformed licensure exams. It's different from what has been the case since 2018 when this licensure exam was introduced. So there's been some reformation, and now they are doing subject-specific, interest-based licensure exams in addition to the pedagogy. That's the mode of teaching as well. As to how that answers the concerns that the NDC, for instance, raising why John Mahama has indicated is going to abolish his licensure exams, it's a conversation we're going to be having subsequently here on 3FM 92.7. But the Appointments Committee of Parliament has today been vetting Supreme Court Justice nominees. The nominated justices Henry Anthony Kofi, Yarda Kwasari, and Richard J. Frimpong were nominated by President Kufuor to fill vacant positions on the Supreme Court bench. Justice Henry Anthony Kofi was first to appear before the Appointments Committee. Justice Kofi, during his vetting, responded to questions on the raging debate about the payment of ex gratia to Article 71 office holders. This is what he had to say.
Judges do not take ex gratia every 4 years, and which is the correct position. As I sit here now, I am on 2020 salary. I don't know about MPs, but as I sit here, I and all my colleagues take on the salary determined by the committee that finished its work in 2020 and came out with a salary. So as I sit here, including her ladyship, the Chief Justice, we are all on 2020 salary. 2021, 2022, we are in 2023.
Not even cola.
Honorable member, you know that some people took cola. We haven't taken anything. So next, I know the president has set up another committee as required under Article 71. Now, if the committee comes out and says next year that in 2021, because obviously it has to start from 2020. In 2021, what you should actually have taken was this 5% over what you were taking in 2022, 2023, 2024. That is how the progression is done. And then the difference is paid to me. That is what I should actually have taken. I think if we want to do it the right way, we should forget about this one,
my Lord,
and pay ourselves every year.
My Lord, well, so that's Justice Henry Anthony Kofi there. My colleague Duke Mensah-Poku sat through the vetting of all three. All three have been vetted.
Yes, all the three have been vetted, but Alfred, there's the possibility that they may all have to be called back.
Why is that?
Usually, the appointments committee would have a confidential report from the security agencies, National Security, National Investigations Bureau, National Signal. All the security agencies will have to do a background checks and present these confidential reports to the committee before they appear. It's a matter of convention. It's a matter of procedure in the committee. This time around, those reports were late. So as at the time they were sitting today, those reports were not in.
The reports from the BNI, the NIB, and all of those others.
They were not ready. So what that means is that the committee has done its work. But if these reports come in, say tomorrow or Friday, or they come in and some of them have questionable or suspicious issues to answer to, they will have to be called back. But these are career judges, really. All the three of them, they are all currently at the Court of Appeal. And all of them, I think with the exception of Yawasai Dako, who went straight to the High Court bench from private practice and also in-house practice as the legal counsel for Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. The other two they've worked their way up from district court, judge, circuit court to High Court to Court of Appeal. So they are career judges, you put it that way, and it's quite difficult to be in that line of work if you have such debt in your background, if I put it that way. But that's assuming that one of them, in fact, this man, the one who just played his voice, Justice Kofi, said before the committee declared that he doesn't have any criminal record. But the committee were quick to point out to him that it's not in his place to tell them whether he has a criminal record or not. It is for the security agencies to do their background research on them, do their sweep through their background and everything before they can proceed. We've had a situation where one of the Supreme Court one of the justices, I wouldn't want to mention his name, a very dire issue in his background came up at the committee because of the confidential report and the work that had been done. So these things matter, especially if you're going to occupy a public office. So there is that possibility. I mean, we're not saying it will happen, but we're saying there's a possibility that if these reports are presented to the committee and there are such issues, they may have to be called back. And the chairman of the committee made that succinctly clear. Apart from that, all the other major issues you would like to especially about judicial corruption, most of them were quick to deny that. Of course, they can't say for a fact that it does not exist, but because it's a human institution, you may have one or two people, but for them, they've not encountered it. Justice Osayadako, for instance, indicated that there are times that it's just maybe bad arguments or bad lawyering that happens in courts, and then the clients assume that the other party may have gone to see the judge and paid money to them or that kind of thing. Legal education also came up. Anti-LGBTQ bill came up. All those issues about whether the Supreme Court should have a ceiling, lower ceiling, upper ceiling, all those issues came up. And I must say that they from where I sat, they kind of answered questions quite well, demonstrating that intelligence are suspected of people who will be at the apex court writing rulings for law students to be reading and being asked questions on and that kind of, and also contributing to the development of jurisprudence in the country, really.
Quite interesting detail there. As always, Duke, appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Duke Mensah-Poku sat through the vetting of the three nominees. So the Supreme Court by the President. by the Appointments Committee of Parliament earlier today. But let's do some issues related to power, because as we speak, the Ghana Gas Senior Staff Association is concerned indebtedness of the Electricity Company of Ghana to major stakeholders in the energy sector poses a potential threat to the sector. Now, the association said the repercussions of the situation are far-reaching and could potentially disrupt the delicate balance within the energy sector. This concern was expressed in a statement signed by the chairman, Richmond Kabiru Alamu, earlier today. Senior staff of Gridco have also raised similar concerns in a statement earlier. Now, unfortunately, we lost Kojo Poko Nsafa, who's going to be joining us shortly here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Let's get Kojo Poko back on the telephone now. This is what the Ghana Gas and Gridco have all been talking about, specifically related to the issues that they raise about the indebtedness of ECG to a number of the players within the sector. We have just seen a statement from the Bui Power Authority as well, raising concerns about the indebtedness of the ECG, Electricity Company of Ghana, to the Bui Power Authority, which they say, if not addressed, could threaten the operations of the Bui Power Authority going forward. If you recall, not too long ago, the Sono Nasogli Power, that's the first independent power producer we had in this country, also raised concerns about the indebtedness of the ECG to it to the tune of over $60 million. Some arrangements were put in place for $30 million to be paid in the first tranche of it. We do not know the updates, whether the rest of the money owed Sono Nasogli has been paid or not. But we also are aware that the independent power producers had raised concerns about the indebtedness to them as well. So it's the multiplicity of issues that the energy sector is faced with that we are talking about now. And Kojo Poko Nsafa is an energy expert, is joining us on the telephone. Kojo, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. So what we are talking about now is that both the Ghana Gas, we have Gridco, and then also Bui Power Authority, all issuing statements talking about the ECG's non-payment of its debt, which they say is of concern, especially to the various players within the energy sector. So what's going on? Because I do know that there's some payments of some 300 million cedis almost on a monthly basis that ECG makes to these various players within the mix. So what's happening?
Well, look, Alfred, good evening, and good evening to your listeners. I think let's put this in perspective. It's the union of these institutions that are issuing letters, not the management. There's a distinction, okay? The management are the ones that go into the meetings, and if the management are going to sit aloof and let their unions issue letters, well, that's well and good, but the issue with unions are supposed to be with their management, not with other institutions. So that is where I find it very strange. It started off with, I think, Gridco. Before Gridco, it was Gridco, then now Ghana Gas, and now you're saying Bui Power. It tends to now have a life of its own when people feel that, look, we don't get paid until we decide to look. Now the famous word in this country is like, oh, we are going to create Doomsaw, and then there's some sort of knee-jerk approach to these solutions. We all know that there is a cash waterfall that distributes money to everybody so that some people have liquidity. There is indebtedness in the value chain. This indebtedness has been there for years, and we talk about it all the time. We are going to Christmas. We agree that some companies maybe have to pay a 13th month, some have to pay some bonuses, and maybe they are telling their staff that, look, because there is indebtedness from ECG, we can't pay. It doesn't mean that ECG has not been paying them. I mean, it's not a secret that ECG or VRA owes Ghana Gas, or an ECG owes VRA, and the cycle goes on. My problem is that dominoes effect that is beginning to have, where unions feel that they can threaten, which is very unfortunate. Okay, so let's put it in perspective. It is not the management of these companies that are issuing letters, it's the union of these companies that are basically threatening that, look, if ECG don't pay us. But what has been the conversation between these unions and their management? And what has been the conversation between the management and ECG? ECG is not the company that basically pays everybody. They are the ones who collect the revenue. The cash waterfall is what pays everybody.
And that's where the concern is, the issue about the cash waterfall, because we're making checks with the ECG who make the point that they've been making consistent payments monthly into this particular cash waterfall account or mechanism that monies are paid. So you want the managers of these institutions, Gridco, Bui, and also Ghana Gas to be speaking, not their senior staff.
No, the union, but yes, the union can come out with their concerns about their management. I don't think I can sit and because of my company has a relationship with TV3 or general media, and my staff in my company will issue a letter about your company. I don't think it's right. The union should channel their grievances through their management to ECG, because the relationship is an sectorial relationship where there is a relationship between View Power and ECG. There is a relationship between Gridco and ECG. Okay, so I'm saying that this is becoming a bit of a domino effect where every union member or every union thinks they can write letters and threaten that there will be doom. So if you go and sabotage, you can get into trouble for sabotage. If you're not being paid by your management, come out and say that, look, my management is not paying me. And some of us who are in the space can engage management and say, look, why are you not paying your staff? And then they can go to their shareholder, who's government. Because at the end of the day, government owes everybody. Government is the 100% shareholder of all these institutions. So the union, your employer, is the government, who is the father of all. So I think that the union should stop it. Look, it doesn't augur well for the industry. Okay. Yes, do they owe? Is it a good thing? No, it's not. But then energy sector indebtedness, everybody is aware of it. Okay. I just think that issue of union issuing letters to threaten doom so should stop, because it doesn't solve any problem. Kojo, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Kojo Poko is an energy analyst. This is Hot Edition. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Michael Ogbodo is standing by with the business news.
Get ready for the most exciting event of the year. It's the 3FM All-White Party. Join us on the 28th of December at the beautiful La Palm Royal Beach Hotel, starting at 7 p.m. Dress to impress in your finest all-white attire and be part of the ultimate celebration of the season. Live musical performances from some of the hottest artists in GH, fantastic DJs on rotation, and unforgettable moments await you at the 3FM All-White Party. Save the date and be there for an incredible night of fun and entertainment at the ultimate party this season. It's the official Christmas 3FM All-White Party on December 28th at the La Palm Royal Beach Hotel at 7 p.m. Call 0531 100 927 and 0532 200 927 for your table reservations today. Get ready to party in style at the 3FM All-White Party.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Cocoa Board expected to draw down $600 million cocoa syndicated loan this week. We'll bring you the details shortly. Please stay. Well, thank you for staying with us. My name is Michael Obodu, and straight into our top story now. Cocoa Board is poised to receive the initial $600 million tranche from an $800 million syndicated loan from banks later this week. The revelation was made by Ray Ankara, the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board, in an interview with international news agency Reuters. Ghana annually receives a syndicated loan to fund cocoa beans purchases from farmers, but this year's disbursement faced delays due to the country's ongoing economic challenges and efforts towards debt restructuring. In response to news of the impending fund release, the president of the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association, Anane Boateng, welcomed the development while urging Cocoa Board to promptly settle outstanding payments owed farmers for their cocoa beans.
and approval of 600 million syndicated loan is paid. Fine, then we are happy because we are having a lot of challenges. You know, we are in the Christmas mode, and we know we can cocoa farmers. This is our time. You know, our work is an annual work. And when we started selling our product to PBCs and Cocoa Board, it has become difficult for us to get our money. We've complained so much, but nobody is responding. So if by God's grace and the money is paid now, then we are glad. We expect the monies to be paid and to all our funds. So if it is come, then it's God's grace. By God's grace, we are happy about it.
So that was the president of the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association, Anane Boateng. Now, away from that, the Africa Center for Retirement Research has criticized Ghana's pension model indexation and the minimum pension paid. In an interview with 3 Business, Chief Executive Officer of the center, Mashood Abdallah, said it widens the economic gap between the rich and the poor and must be relooked.
The 430 Ghana cedis minimum pension that is currently being paid is still inadequate because it represents 60% of the value of the national poverty line. So it presents another case where we can safely conclude that most Ghanaian pensioners are living below the poverty line. So we are proposing that the government, represented by the Ministry for Employment and Labour Relations, together with the National Pension Regulatory Authority, would ensure that SNIT increases the minimum pension from the current 430 Ghana cedis that is being paid. And that way, we can practically sustain the social and economic well-being of the poor or low earners.
That was Chief Executive Officer of the Africa Center for Retirement Research, Mashood Abdallah. Now, away from that, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry says SMEs in the country can gain an advantage by being earlier adopters of technology in trading within the African Continental Free Trade Area. National Chairman of ICT Center at the National Chamber, Chuna Makpelo, emphasizes that utilizing ICT tools effectively has the potential to significantly enhance business sales. An illustration of this potential is evident from the ACP-DG project, where around 1,000 SMEs saw a remarkable surge of over 70% in their sales after implementing these tools.
In current terms, the third quarter of 2023, GDP stood at 212 billion Ghana cedis. The real GDP.
We apologize for that wrong inset, but we'll bring it to you in our subsequent bulletins. However, that will be all for today's edition of the Business News on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. I am Michael Lubudu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next is sports, and Kelvin is on standby.
Well, let's get into the latest in the world of sports. My name is Kelvin Owusu-Ansah. Ghana Black Stars coach Chris Hughton has already released his 55-man squad for the Africa Cup of Nations to CAF. That is the list where he's going to cut short to 23 with an additional 3 if the country deems it fit to add the 3 players. He's, however, not up for debate when it comes to Thomas Partey's availability for January's showdown.
I don't think it's a debate. It's the reality. It's a choice. Yes, we have an African Cup of Nations in the month of January. This is when a particular team, a particular country, want their players turning up for camp. You know, it's they don't have a choice. You know, I think what can happen and what has always happened is a relationship between clubs, and there will be some associations, some countries that will have an association with a club that maybe allows a particular player to come, 2 days later than the others.
Right, flex and bend a bit.
Yes, and that's something that's I think has always been the case. But I think as regards, as I say, our choice,
So that is Black Stars head coach Chris Hughton there. A lot for the Ghana Black Stars to do ahead of the Nations Cup. Now to some results in the CAF Champions League, and Mediama SC were defeated 3-0 all the way in Tanzania as Young Africans Football Club defeated them in the fourth game of the group stage as well. Jonathan Soa had an opportunity to equalize after Yanga were up by 1 through the penalty, but he missed that opportunity. Now to the Baba Sports Stadium, where Dreams FC are currently playing against APC Lobito from Angola, and Dreams lead by 3-0. Abdulaziz Issa has already scored, once again, this time around from the center circle, making sure that brilliant effort was just beyond the reach of the goalkeeper. But before then, Derek had already given Dreams FC that start with a very brilliant finish, and then Ajanin Boateng also with a second goal. That'll be all for sports. Akova comes your way with entertainment.
Thank you for your time here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It's now time for the entertainment news segment powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Kofa. Associate Professor at the Institute of African Studies, AC Sutherland Addy, says the African culture is unique and called on all to accept and embrace it. Speaking at the Institute's 60th anniversary, she mentioned how proud she is, having witnessed the tremendous role the Institute has played in promoting the African culture.
For decades, the Institute of African Studies has nurtured a number of distinguished Ghanaian scholars, cultural ambassadors, composers, and playwrights. The Institute and the Ghana Dance Ensemble have also been at the forefront of advancing knowledge, fostering cultural understanding, and promoting the rich heritage of global Africa.
The Institute of African Studies is a place where the academic study of music, dance, and literature took its roots for Ghana and Africa.
It's been 60 years of promoting the rich cultural heritage and showcasing the dynamism and beauty of traditions through captivating performances. Having witnessed the growth and impact of the Institute and the Ghana Dance Ensemble, Associate Professor AC Sutherland Addy underscored the need to know and believe in our culture.
You know, the journey over 60 years has been one of the inception and development of a national arts movement. I feel very privileged to have been, as it were, a fly on the wall, watching all this develop, and then later on, as I advanced in my career, trying to make a contribution as a critic and as somebody who believes that our culture is something that we should know and understand, and that is what makes us unique around the world.
As part of its 60th anniversary celebration, some past directors and staff were honored for their selfless contribution over the years.
And before I go, in 8 days, we party at the hottest event this Christmas. The 3FM OY party on the 28th of December is happening at the La Palm Royal Beach Hotel with exciting performances by Stoneboy, Manifest, Akwabwa, KK Fusu, and the newest addition to the lineup is Terminator, Hitmaker, Promise, King Promise. Now, DJs on rotation, we've got DJ Faculty, DJ Abiam, DJ Filter, and so much more. So don't forget to come through with your dancing shoes as well. Hey party people, brace yourselves for the most electrifying event of the year. Get set because it's the 3FM OY party. Mark your calendars for the 28th of December and get your groove on at the stunning La Palm Royal Beach, kicking off at 7 p.m. Prepare for an epic night packed with non-stop fun and entertainment. We're talking about mind-blowing performances by Stoneboy, Manifest, Akwabwa, KK Fusu, and the hottest DJs on rotation, DJ Faculty, DJ Abiam, and DJ Filter.
all this excitement for as low as 500 Ghana cedis. Gather your squad, bring a date or fly solo and have a blast. Snag your spot, whether it's a single seat at any table or book the whole table. We've got you covered. Dial 053-110-0927 now to reserve your table or individual seats. Don't miss out on this ultimate bash. Remember, dress to kill in your slickest all-white attire and be part of the grandest celebration of the season. So get hyped, get set, and let's party in absolute style at the 3FM all-white party. Let's paint the night white with unforgettable memories. Don't miss out.
Mark your calendars, and also mark your calendars. December 28, 2023 is a 3FM OY party. For more info as well, and also to call to book your table for an individual or for a group, call 053-110-0927. And that's how we end the entertainment news segment here on Hot Edition, powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa. Thank you for your time.